Hello, class. Um, I am making this video to go over my case study that I chose. I chose suspension and the role that it has in education. Um, One of the first things I want to go over is just kind of the outline of the current, the way that it kind of works is that there's out-school suspension, which is kind of the normal suspension, which everyone thinks of when getting suspended is when you go home. You hang out, and there's no really guidance or a track that you kind of follow. You just kind of do the amount of days that they suspended you, and you get to go back to school. Um, and so that's the old way, and this new kind of way that they're trying to establish is an in-school suspension, which is a little bit different. It's basically, it just brings it from in-home to in-school, and there's a monitor there that kind of watches you and kind of guides you along, and you still have your work and stuff that teachers can send in, and so you're not at home. You're still at school. So that's kind of the difference between the two right there. So just outline some of the major problems of outside school suspension. Um, one of the things is that it sends the kids home. That's bad because you want the kids in a learning environment. That's why they're there. They're grouped up with their peers and they're in that environment to learn. And when you send them home, they're not going to be in a learning environment and they can't do that. So that's one of the major problems, takes them out of that environment. Another major problem of outside school suspension would be that it gets triggered by a lot of kids who need to be in school to get that learning experience. As we know, when we get into college, there's a lot of classes that you can not really, that are either online or jointly online and go to class, and you don't have to really be there to get the education out of it, and you can still get what you need. But not everyone has that, and the people that need to be in school to kind of to learn are these kids that are most likely the ones that are getting in trouble. That's what statistics have found in a lot of these studies that the case study referenced. Um, one of the One of the case studies that I found intriguing was a Chicago school case study that said that most of the outside school suspension cases were being issued were actually nonviolent offenses, and so they were things that could have been reprimanded most likely in school and could have been dealt with there instead of sending the kids home. Also keeping them in this learning environment, which is crucial, and that's why I think in school suspension has really stepped up and filled that gap, and allowed for those nonviolent offenses to be accounted for, but also be addressed. Um, Another problem is the adoption of zero tolerance policies throughout. One of the case study also referenced a Chicago study that said that one of the school systems that, or majority of the school systems that adopted these policies had outside suspension increase, and that is because of the zero tolerance. That's kind of goes hand in hand with the policy. So that's kind of a thing that's a problem, but also it's kind of expected. Some solutions that I guess would be in school suspension would be a solution in itself, but some of the I guess you could say the advantages of having this would be that you could send the kid there for part day. You could do half day, all day. You could also do like multiple days if it's a prolonged issue, a suspension normally can be multiple days. So there's that. That's an advantage to it. A study also referenced in this case stated that nonviolent crimes decreased in the school when they administered an in-school suspension policy. So kids realized that there was this other factor, this other disciplinary action that could occur to them if they got in trouble, and most likely that deterred them away from doing any of the acts that was happening before. Another advantage is just also keeping the kids into the atmosphere by itself, just keeping the kids in the learning environment. That's definitely a really big advantage right there. And There was also a study that said that lower repeat rates were associated with in-school suspension. So that means that that the kids are getting something out of it, that they're not coming back as often, and that no matter if they did something bad or whatever, they get reprimanded, and the guidance and the monitoring of the ISS really kind of scolds them enough to where they understand that they did something wrong and they try not to repeat it. I think that because kind of just going home and not really getting told that that what you did was wrong all day, which is kind of what happens in ISS, but not really, I guess, to that extent. But yeah, so those are the problems and I guess the solution, which would be ISS, but the things inside ISS that really give it its advantages. But thanks for watching.